Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our speaker series. We are very, very happy to have some great speakers here this evening to talk about what I know is one of my favorite topics, employment. Employment is near and dear to our core values here at Ray Graham Association. And, I always say that when someone asks you what do you do, they're not asking you what do you do on a Tuesday night. That question, it pertains to your career, your profession, and it's always been a goal of ours that everybody that we support at our organization has the opportunity to be able to answer that question with a career, with a profession that they're proud of. Tonight, I am really happy that Sara Murphy from TransCen, Casey Nunes from Pride Industries, as well as Bob Griffin, one of our own employment specialists, and John, who is with us tonight as well, who will be telling his story. I'm going to start by introducing Sara and Casey. So I'd like to say a few words about the two of these great professionals, just so that you have a feel of why we are so excited to have them here with us tonight. Sara is a senior associate at TransCen Inc. and the director of TransCen's Worklink program. For the past 30 years, she's focused on community inclusion and employment for people with disabilities. She has extensive experience in program development, person-centered based services, customized employment, and service transformation. As part of the TransCen's consultant team, she provides technical assistance and training for state agencies, school districts, and service providers and families. For 5 years, she worked with Cincinnati's Children's Hospital Project Search Program, replicating their project model and developing content and establishing their learning academy. In addition, she's participated in a number of federal and state initiatives, such as Social Security Administration's Youth Transition Demonstration Project, WinTax Customized Employment Training Project, and Promise Grants as well. She has served as subject matter expert many times, and in particular for the Department of Labor's Office of Disability and Employment Policy. Next is Casey Nunes. Casey is the success manager for Pride Industries. She has been an advocate for employment rights and job development for communities facing multiple barriers, such as disabilities, veteran status, transportation, and childcare throughout her career, and knows firsthand the struggles of working through adversity. Pride supports people with all abilities to find success in the workplace. She's conveniently located in our area at Ingram Micro Warehouse, which is in Carroll Stream, where she provides on-the-job training and individual coaching. So thank you both for being here with us tonight. After Sara presents, Casey will present, and then next up we are going to hear from Bob and John about a success story, which I know that I'm looking forward to hearing. So Sara, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
See if I can unmute myself and share my screen and drive this correctly. Let's see, I'll share this. All right, does that work? Can everyone see? Excellent, excellent. Hi, everyone. As Kim said, my name is Sara Murphy, and I work for TransCen, which is a policy advising think tank organization. And we've been doing direct service for a long time. But when I first started, we didn't do direct service, which was kind of a shocking thing to me, because we were going around telling people how this all should work, and we weren't actually doing what we were talking about. So we were going out and giving them lots of definitions and lots of things, and not a lot of really meaty tools and strategies and all sorts of things that would be more beneficial, that they could actually use to change their programs and stuff. So I opened my mouth one day at a staff meeting and said, we should be doing direct service. And that was the last time I opened my mouth, because they said, let's go do it. And so I started Worklink, which is a program in San Francisco where we're actually, serving people and creating kind of, and it was based on best practice. So we said, if we're going to build this, let's build it from the ground up, and let's try and just do new things. And we're going to keep it small. It's going to be our little laboratory. We're going to try new things. It's going to be nimble, flexible. We're going to constantly change it up. And over the past 30 years, we've been doing that, and we've kind of stumbled on some great tools, some great ideas about how to really how to make people's lives really meaningful, and how to really build supports and services around individuals. So tonight, I'm really happy to kind of share this with you, share our little journey. And I hope this helps you to kind of imagine the possibilities and what's possible for yourself or your loved ones. So let's get started. So one of the things I kind of start with is just the kind of a question about to think about is, how can we really support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to lead productive, meaningful adult lives? And what does that look like? And I think one of the things that we really have to look at as a service provider is that we really have to get away from the idea that we have programs and start really looking at and thinking about this. It's about people, and how can we serve people and not chase dollars and try to build buildings and programs and things like that. But so we really have to look at reframing how we support and serve people with disabilities, and really focus on person-centered services and building those and being responsive to the needs and the dreams of the people that we work with. So building meaningful lives, we've been using that phrase for a number of years now, and people are always kind of asking me, well, what is meaningful? And that's one of the hardest things to really kind of come up with, because it's different for each and every one of us. And if you think about, what's meaningful for me is, my family, my pets. I love to go to the beach. I love to do all sorts of different things. I love learning. I love all sorts of things, but we're all different. So I think what we have to really look at is creating services that are responsive to each and every person we work with. And what we have to start with is kind of what is meaningful. And when I said to my staff, I was constantly, well, is it meaningful? We're not going to do it unless it's meaningful. And they finally shot back at me one day, like, well, what the hell does meaningful mean? And I was just like, I don't really know. I don't know, so we of course got on our phones and we looked up meaningful, and this came up, and it really spoke to us. Its significance, its purpose, its value. So if it's everything we do now has to pass the meaningful definition. So is it significant to the person, their family, or society? Is it purposeful or outcome oriented? Are we doing this for a reason? And then of course, is it valued by the person or the world in general? So that's how we now start to really look and to evaluate anything we do. We use this definition, and we actually posted this on our wall so that we don't forget. So purposeful. And when you think about what makes your life meaningful, I think we can all kind of, spin out on this. And, friends, obviously employment. Kim mentioned, having a job and the dignity that comes from, not just a paycheck, but playing a really valued role in our community is really, really important. For some people, having a lot of choice in their day, having relationships, love obviously is really important. Friends, I don't know how I could go through life without having friends. Our health is important to us and really meaningful. For some people, spirituality and having opportunities to connect with people around religious opportunities, and then a sense of freedom and independence also might be part of that. So that's what really makes our lives meaningful. Unfortunately, I think people with disabilities aren't often asked these questions. And what we look at, what we see a lot of times is that, service providers or school teachers, special ed teachers really focus on, what the disability is and what's wrong and what's broken is what we like to say, or what needs to be fixed. Whereas what we really need to look at is who is this person and how do they define themselves, and what their skills and interests are and what their strengths are. Because that's what we can use to determine, how do we connect this person in meaningful ways, and how do we find a job that's going to really, rock their world and fit like a glove. So one of the tools I was talking about, one of the things that we came up with was, we realized kind of right out of the gate that whatever is meaningful is different for everyone, and that people's life experience really determines who they are and what they know about. Also, just what's important to them is really something that we need to pay attention to, and that we really need to provide services that support that. And then also kind of looking at what the person's current skills are, and what their instructional needs are. What do they know now, but what do they need to learn? So we came up with this positive personal profile, which is this simple one-page form that we use in our intake packet that we use to get to know somebody. So it's like a snapshot of who you are and what you're all about. And it's a really simple way of profiling an individual, and it helps us kind of get off the ground on the right foot. It helps us to really start forming a kind of helping the person to define themselves. And then we can use that definition to craft and customize our services. So again, it's a strength-based approach. We don't look at what's broken and what's wrong and what needs fixing. And to illustrate that, I kind of like to show Jeffrey's file. We got an individual who came to us from a school, and in his file, this is what it said. He's got Down syndrome. He only reads or writes simple words, so nothing useful, they said. Second grade math, difficult to understand. He stutters. He's got an endocardial cushion deficit, which is a heart problem. He's stubborn. And he's unemployable is what they decided. So this is what his file said. And when we saw that, we were astounded that anyone would write that about somebody, but lo and behold, there it was. So we started saying, okay, so we need to really start with figuring out who Jeff is. So we got Jeff out, we started doing things with Jeff, and lo and behold, what we soon found was that he's an absolute sports fitness fanatic. He's a weightlifter with Special Olympics. He and his dad go to the gym. He knows everything about the Warriors and the Giants and the Blackhawks for some reason. I don't quite know how they got into the mix, but they did. So, huge Blackhawks fan, and all of the equipment and shirts and hats that go along with that. He also loves music. He's got a guitar that his dad refers to him caterwauling with, and he likes to sing. He likes to dance. He loves the Jersey Boys, the musicals, things like that. He's incredibly gregarious. I don't think you could find anyone more outgoing, and he's got this really wacky sense of humor. So the other thing we found was that he takes great pride in his Jewish heritage. And his parents can't quite figure out how he came about this, because his father is Catholic and his mother is Jewish, and they don't really go to the synagogue. They don't, they're not really religious at all, but they have a couple friends. And so he goes to the synagogue with some of their friends and considers himself Jewish. And he's way into it. The other thing we looked at was what about his life experiences? And one of the things we asked him, what kind of rock, what does he really value? And he said helping others. He wants to help others. And then one of the other things that his family told us about was that he's a cancer survivor. He had leukemia when he was in high school and had to undergo a bone marrow transplant. So for months in the hospital, kind of at death's door, and snapped back with a vengeance. He's now, a strapping young man, and has not had any reoccurrence. So it's really quite great. But so that's Jeff in a nutshell. So we started looking at, the difference between, the first side, is all the deficits, what's wrong, what's broken, and takes us nowhere. But when you look at the other side, where do sports fanatics hang out? What about music? How can we find a way that he can help others, and what does that look like? So now here's Jeff's meaningful life today. He goes to we quickly realized that if he was going to work, he needed to work in a place that was kind of fitness oriented. And he also loved helping customers. So we approached Equinox, which is a really fancy gym, because it's really customer service is the first and foremost on their agenda. So they want the people that work for them to be customer focused and really and provide extremely gregarious help. So that's Jeff. So we got him a job at Equinox. He's sanitizing yoga mats after the rush. He's running towels. He's mopping the floors, wet mopping the floors in the studios, and putting away equipment and other things. And he works Monday through Friday, 4 hours a day in the afternoons. Or 3 hours a day in the afternoons. And in the mornings or around that, he only works 4 days a week. He's got Fridays off because he decided that he wanted to work for the Jewish Contemporary Museum and the shift that they had open for the coat room. So he's now working in the coat room of the Jewish Contemporary Museum, so from 11 to 1:30 on Fridays. The other thing that we decided to do with him is to have him go to KLW, which is a music station. And one of the reasons we decided to have him go there was because Brian, the station manager, is a diehard Giants fan and Warriors fan. And so he and Jeff can talk about the Warriors and the Giants for forever. There aren't a lot of Blackhawks fans out here. I don't know why, but not a lot of hockey in San Francisco. Anyway, he also, one of the things that we're working on is Let's Get Lost. We're teaching him to get around in the community and do things on his own, and to take public transit by himself, and to know what to do if he does miss his stop, or isn't sure where he is. What does he do? The other thing that we signed him up for was he likes to be outside. That was another thing that was very apparent, and he wanted to help. So we signed him up for LV's Garden, which is a garden in Golden Gate Park, where he's assisting with watering, and all the plants that they plant in Golden Gate Park start there, either as seedlings or as in a pot, and then they take them out and plant them in the garden. So he's there tending these plants. And then Family House, which is a Ronald McDonald situation where he's learning some independent living skills. So how to load a dishwasher, how to vacuum. He's sanitizing toys. It's a place where young children go when they're receiving treatment at Benioff Children's Hospital. And he wanted to do that because he was a cancer survivor, and he wanted to say to them, you can beat this too. So he goes there and volunteers once a week. So you can see that it's a really, really robust, meaningful life that's based on Jeff and who Jeff is. The other thing that we have is a Saturday suggestion, which is that he's got 2 friends that live near him. And one of our suggestions is that, they go to community events together, or the, he goes and shoots hoops maybe on Saturday with them. And all we have to do is kind of make a suggestion and off they go. So we put that on his schedule as well. And then on Sunday, he goes to the gym with his dad. So very, very robust life, and lots of things that pertain to who Jeff is and what he's all about. So one of the things that we look at when we're doing that profile is, how, really learning to listen, and to listen to the individual and their families. And really, this is about kind of creating a village around a person. So we really tie in and work with families very, very closely, or care providers for that matter. So we try to start our getting to know the person in their home. So we go to, where the person's most relaxed, where we're at our best, and it's certainly not sitting across the table from a professional. So we go to somebody's house and we try to, to pull out, what they're all about. And you can see from that young man's bedroom, there's lots of things that you can use to start a conversation and get someone talking. Whereas if you're meeting with someone in an office and, you're asking them what they like to do, you're going to hear, what they do there. So what we like to do is to get them in a place where they're most comfortable, and then just, to have them talk about what's important to them and what's meaningful for them. So we work with families, we talk with families. Again, it's learning to listen, not lead, is what we say. So we go and we take a walk, and ask the person, what do you do? Where do you go? Who are your friends? Do you know your neighbors? Because that's really important. Being a part of your neighborhood is really a key part of being included and valued in the world. So we also look at how do they participate in their home? Do they do chores? What do they do for fun? We try to go do something that's close, near and dear to their hearts. What do they like to do? Is it fishing? Do they have a dog? Can we walk the dog with them? Are there social options nearby? Do they have friends that live close? And then we also look for, potential employment opportunities that might be near, and that might be interesting for the individual, to minimize kind of the transportation needs or the issues that we may have. And of course, we always look at transportation options and what's available from the house. So it's incredibly informative, and it helps us to really customize our services around the person's needs. But the other thing that we look at, in addition to, what defines someone, is also kind of, what they need to learn. So when you talk about being an adult, because that's our goal, is to really teach social competencies and build that independence and self-sufficiency as well. So, there's more to, we like to say there's more to life than work. So, helping people to get kind of connected to the world in non-work ways. So we talk to people about, what does being an adult mean? And one question I wanted to ask people, and you can type in into the chat box, kind of, what's the best thing about being an adult? And some people are probably thinking there's nothing good about being an adult, but there's got to be something that, that people feel is important or wonderful about, being an adult, turning 21. Let's see, here's some stuff. Let's see, having a family, being able to make decisions. Very good. Yes. That independence and that ability to call the shots is definitely something. Anything else that people can kind of come up with? No. All right. Well, I can do what I want when I want. Yes, indeed. Yes, you can eat ice cream for dinner, for God's sakes. Anything else? Well, for the sake of time, whoops, now it's not letting me go on. Yeah, so there's kind of living on your own, and someone said that, and that freedom and independence that comes from being an adult, and that self-sufficiency, that you're calling the shots and you're doing what you want. and you're making your own decisions. But it does take some skill. And as you can see from the little cartoon, you know, being adult, the pros are you can eat 28 Easter eggs and no one will stop you. But then the con would be, of course, that you did eat 28 Easter eggs and nobody stopped you. So it does take some skill. And there's a reason they don't call teenagers adults. You know, you really have to learn to be an adult and to learn to be safe, and learn to make good decisions. So that's one of the things that we look at is what does it take to be a successful adult in today's world? And we really look at, you know, social competencies, so hygiene, manners, problem solving, also, you know, being able to understand and use money. Travel skills are critical. If you cannot get around in your world, it really does limit your ability to participate. So travel skills are really, really important and something that we focus on. And it also leads to that sense of independence. If you can go someplace when you decide, and not when someone's around to take you there, it really does change your life. So it really opens opportunities for people. So we try to teach people to use public transit, and we'll be talking a lot about that. Also technology, because again, that's our lifeline. And that's the way that we really kind of stay connected to our friends and family, as we've seen with COVID. And then also just, you know, learning to things like teamwork and working together, and manners again, and being respectful of others is really important. So we look at hard skills. So physical skills, you know, how to drive my wheelchair, eating, toileting, dressing, showering, all those things. Independent living skills, money skills, as I said, tech skills, using phones and the internet, and Zoom, of course, became our lifeline during the last 2 years. And then, of course, navigating and traveling in the community, personal safety, all very, very important. And the last but not least is vocational skills or employability. And we focus very significantly on those. The other thing we do not forget, and this is you know, people need to make friends to have a wonderful life. So we want to make sure that people have the soft skills to do that. So we work on manners, we work on personal hygiene, making judgments, problem solving, stamina and endurance. All of these things are just critical skills for being out in the world and being in the world successfully. So we started looking at, you know, how do we assess someone's life skills, and there was nothing out there. So we started looking at, you know, can we create something? And so we did. We all sat down and said, what does it take to be a successful adult in today's world? And we just kind of started throwing things out, and, you know, and stuck them up on the wall and tried to organize them. And we created what we call our life skills assessment. And it looks at the domains and social competencies across different domains. So home, community, social recreational domain, behavioral or social competency domain. And then we look at, you know, does the person 1, 2, 3, 4, is he a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 in this area? So a 1 is the person never does this and needs total assistance and instruction. Or 2, they rarely do this, and it just kind of goes up, and 5 is they do it all the time independently. So we kind of rank a person, or have the people who know that person best kind of rank them. What we found was we started using this to see if our services were being beneficial. So we did this at intake, and then we do it annually, and we were looking to see, you know, are people learning? Are people gaining skills and independence in our program? Because that's what we said was important. So we made this tool to do that. But one of the things that we quickly found is that we could look at this and immediately see where the needs were for services and supports. So now what we do is we really focus in on those 1s, 2s, and 3s, because those are the things the person needs to work on to be a successful adult. Down at the bottom, you can see there's an aggregate score, and this is an average score from all of the numbers that are up there. And this is what we use on an annual basis to kind of gauge whether a person is making progress, and whether our services are being effective. So it turned out to be, a way to measure whether we were being effective. And what it really turned out to be was a great way to help someone really identify what their goals were and what they needed to learn. So we use this, and we absolutely love it. And so you can see that 2.7 is what that person's rating is for the year. So again, it's a new day for our day services. We use our day services now to kind of teach, connect, and support. We see it more than just a calendar of events. We're not just taking people out on field trips or outings. It's really about building skills. So the purpose we see our day services for, and again, it's hourly. So we have an hourly rate. It's not a day long. So we can take Jeff to work, and then we can work on other things when he's not at work. So in the afternoon, we can do the non-work needs or employability needs, or have him volunteer for something that is near and dear to his heart. So we use the purpose of our community day services. One of the other things we found was that we can also use it for people who are reticent or scared about going to work. We can ease them into the community. We can teach them, the community is not such a bad place, and that there's a lot of fun stuff going on out there, and we can help them kind of discover who they are and explore things. And then again, we can build those skills that the person needs in order to be successful. We also use our day services to really help a person to develop kind of a social and professional network, having them volunteering. And we have an internship program, of course, a project search program that's connected with our services as well. And our whole goal with our community day services is to really foster that inclusion and that engagement in meaningful ways in the community. And again, gaining independence, self-confidence in community settings, helping people to take public transit, to be out in the community, to be able to use money in an effective way and buy things. We also look at augmenting part-time work schedules, as you saw with Jeff, with meaningful non-work activities. And one of the real beautiful things, like I said, is working with people who are really scared, and who are scared of being in the community, scared of the idea of employment. And we can start out slow, very slowly, and build kind of a pathway to community integrated employment for them. So our services are really individualized. In fact, we refer to them as services. We don't refer to Worklink as a program, because we don't want it to sound like school. We don't want it to sound like, this is a life sentence, is what we say. Our goal is to really help people to be independent and provide the services and supports they need, and not services and supports they don't. And what we see is if you have a program, it's about putting butts in the seat and filling the program, and then you also have preconceived activities and ideas, whereas if we have individualized services and it's built around the person, we can customize it for each and every person that we support. So services are all integrated. Our program is 100% community based. We do absolutely no teaching in our office. It's all done out in the world. Activities are based on a mutual interest or a critical skill, not predetermined classes. They're not set by our program staff or a curriculum. We have a whiteboard, and people say, I want to learn to knit, or I want to learn to swim, or I want to whatever they want. We put that on the whiteboard, and we put their name up there, and when we have a critical mass, we start to we build that group. A community instructor goes out and finds a place where they can do that. So there's a question. So how is this different than focusing on what is broken in the initial slide because of your profile? What we're really starting with is the needs are things that we have to kind of adjust and solve so that it's not the basis of their services, so to speak. And our goal with focusing on those things is so that we can get to the place where that person is going to be independent and successful. It might be something that's, getting in the way. It doesn't stop us from focusing on who that person is. So we use both the profile and the skills assessments. They are two pieces in our intake packet. So the profile really gets at who are you, what defines you, what are your strengths and skills, and the skills assessment is kind of to see, what are the areas where we can help and where instruction is needed, or things that are concerning for you or cause anxiety, or things that you would like support around. So again, it's not someone's diagnosis. In fact, we could care less what someone's diagnosis is, and we steer well clear of those things. And so we try to, the services again are integrated with the person's network. So it's their family and friends and neighbors that we try to bring in. I talked about helping someone walk a dog. That's a way to meet your neighbors. That's a way to really kind of become known in your neighborhood, and for us to help that person to develop some friendships around where they live. Again, our schedules are designed around real life. They don't happen Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. In the beginning, if someone needs a lot of support and or will need supports forever, we may have them join. We have small group services, but as people learn and become more and more independent, we start focusing on non-traditional hours. So Saturday afternoons, Friday nights. Whenever the activities occur, we try to do them, and we try to help people to do them independently at that point. The hours are hourly for all of our services. So it's like supported employment only for non-work stuff, if that makes sense to people. So we start with people, and our hope is that we will fade, and that people will be in the community independently. And of course, obviously some people will never be independent. And for those individuals, we offer support and services for a lifetime. So again, our services are tailored and they start with the person and not programs and classes. We work on what their goals are and how can we help them to get there. Again, it's really about following the person. And really learning to listen and not lead. We're not building programs. We're not building a curriculum, and everybody's got to go through that same curriculum. It's really person by person and individual by individual. It's 100% community based. Again, we believe very strongly that this is the best place to teach, and it's more meaningful, and people really learn better out in the real world because it's real. It's not simulated or mocked up. They're used to us, they're not used to the general public. So, it's a way to really kind of grab those teachable moments and to really help people to be comfortable in the world right out of the gate. And then what we're trying to, build is kind of a consistent veneer over the community, because obviously teaching in community settings can be very chaotic. So we try to go multiple times to a single place. We don't just go once. That's a field trip. What we like to do is go multiple times so that people can, understand what's going on there, and they start to understand, what's expected. They start to know how to manage it. They start to make friends, and people start to know their name, and that's when they start to gain confidence. And then pretty soon, our hope is that they will own the joint. And that's kind of what our goal is. No schedules look the same for people in our program. They're person-centered. They're based on interests and goals. The groups and instructors shift during the day. So the community instructor does not get a group of individuals that they keep all week or even for the day. So you can see from the schedule, the staff persons change. We have a few people that don't travel independently, and we kind of pass those people between instructors like a baton. So the instructors will meet at a meeting spot in the community, and you know, and some of our people are at this point very able to take public transit, so they're independent travelers and can go from one activity to another using public transit. And again, people don't necessarily come Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, and other people don't come every day. It's really based on, you know, what they want and what their you know, what their needs are. So again, community-based day services, we like to say, I asked someone, you know, they said, this feels so different. And I said, well, what feels so different about it? And they had worked in a number of different programs, and they said, you know what, we're not messing around. And we like that. We were actually going to create like Worklink, we're not messing around shirts, you know, and have everybody wear them. And again, it's true, it's purposeful, it's outcome oriented. It's not about outings or field trips. We're really about building skills, and, you know, really looking at where do we, you know, where does this happen and how do we teach this? Again, I talked about those routine kind of weekly schedules, and that's really important when you're out in a community. It can be really chaotic. We try to keep things kind of consistent so that people know where they're supposed to be and what's going to happen. So again, those multiple visits, we use systematic instruction and data collection. So we teach all of our skills are, again, 100% community-based. So we teach social skills and self-advocacy skills across all these environments, communication skills, all of these things. The community offers so many opportunities to teach this stuff. We also teach self-regulation. You know, we have people who come into our program who steal things, or you know, have a proclivity to eat out of garbage cans or whatever, you know, and we work with them on, you know, that's not okay. And you know, or there's a box of donuts, you know, and at a work site, and you may have one, but you may not have 6. You know, that's kind of the thing that we're working on. And then also creating kind of that sense of responsibility. Teaching manners and kindness is something also that our community instructors really focus on. And then the rest of our efforts are really on trying to make each participant understand that they have a voice and that they have control, and that we are here to support them. So whenever they say something, and we try to give them opportunity to really, you know, to tell us what they like. So we have a consumer advisory council of participants that is voted in by the individuals in the program, and they are their representatives. And we work with them as kind of the program ambassadors and peer mentors. We also have a blow your mind board, is what we call it. And people put on there whatever they think they want to do, or things that they want to go to. And it's a way to really kind of connect people and help people to do things with their friends. And then we teach people to listen to each other, not just staff people, but listen to their peers. So we put peers in leadership roles and as mentors, so that people learn to listen to each other. Another thing that we do is really stress independence and confidence in the community. So one of the things that we look at is, you know, teaching people to use public transit, street safety, street crossing, problem solving, stranger danger, all of these things. And then also what to do if you miss your stop. You know, a lot of people get really comfortable and programs are like, they've got this, they know how to get there. And then they fade out, and then the person misses the stop and doesn't know what to do. So we take people up. It's like a scavenger hunt. We blindfold them, we spin them around, we make them miss their BART stop, and we take them, you know, they're in Oakland, and we say, oh my God, you're in Oakland, now what? And they have to figure out, you know, how do I get home? Who do I call? Who do I ask for help? And we work through that with them, so that if they do get lost, that they are able to effectively problem solve and reach out for assistance. And then we also talk about disaster training. So, what to do in an earthquake, or, active shooter, unfortunately, is another thing that we're working on. Or all the electricity goes down and you can't get home on your electric bus. What are you going to do? We also work on money and budgeting, using fake money and Target to teach dollar over. We talk about, what a debit card is, and it's not just a ticket to the money machine. We work on, banking skills, budgeting skills, worth, counting money, all of that stuff. We also look at technology. Obviously, with the COVID, this has become just we're so happy. This was something that we really focused on because people were able to quickly learn how to use iPads and computers to Zoom their friends and stay connected with loved ones. So we work on, using cell phones as a critical tool. So many of the people in our program carry one, and smartphones are great because we can create triptychs, is what we call it when we're travel training. We have pictures, and people, you're looking for the McDonald's, and then you swipe it, and then what are you looking for next? And it really keeps people engaged in their training, and they're not just kind of sleeping in the back until their community instructor says, okay, we're getting off, pull the bell. So it makes them responsible for their own travel training. So we really like, and also alarms and teaching them FaceTime, so that if they have a problem, they can FaceTime staff and we can figure out together what they need to do. So purposeful, outcome-oriented services, again, measuring and collecting data is so critical, and especially for critical skills. So this is a task analysis that we use for street crossing, so that we can, verify when someone is independent street crossing, and we're not just winging it, we're not just guessing, and we can show a family, there's been 6 months where this person has been 100% in street crossing, and able to do it independently. It also shows us where the person's struggling, and what we need to work on with them. This is a cooking sheet for a data sheet for our cooking group, and it really focuses on, does the person know how to use a can opener? Can they use a stove safely? There's another sheet for manners, and dishwashing, all sorts of things. So this is something that they actually rate themselves. How did I do today? And they can rate themselves on what they worked on that day. This is something we use at the gym. One of our individuals is pre-diabetic, and his doctor wants him to get his weight down. So his goal is to lose weight. So one of the things we have him do is to monitor what he does at the gym, and then also to record his weight once a month. And again, our life skills assessment. And this is something that we do on an annual basis. We sit down with the person and their family and their community instructor, and we all come to a consensus as to, how to rank a person. So this is kind of a report card as to, what they learned. And then what we do is graph the average level of independence, that bottom score on a graph each year. And the person also uses this to we talk about, the ones and twos again, because this can be some support. These are areas where you need support. These are areas that we might write a goal around. The things that are 4s and 5s, we don't need to pay attention to that because you're doing it all by yourself. Another piece of our program is, again, that fostering community inclusion. So, it's not about being in the community, it's about building community. So our big thing is to really help people to connect and to be included, not just integrated. We don't want people just standing next to people who don't have disabilities. We want them valued by their community. And that really requires more than just buying a cup of coffee at Starbucks once a week. So, or going out for lunch or visiting the zoo. What you really have to do is find routine opportunities to engage with others in productive, meaningful ways, or to work on common goals with people. So that's what we look for. We look for ways to work and volunteer and help. Because that really gives people, that builds social value and social capital for people. And it also is a great way to make friends. So we try to base all volunteering on an individual's, again, how do they define themselves? What are their passions? What's important to them? What do they value? And then we find a volunteer job or a volunteer situation that will, where that will put them, the individual, in contact with others who have the same values, and places where they'll really fit in. And, where we often hear, well, they're one of us. We love having him here. He's one of us. And that's what we really want, is we want people to meet others who have similar values and similar passions. So again, inclusion is not just physical proximity to others. It means being accepted, respected, valued. And if you're not there, you're missed. So we start again with that positive personal profile. What is a person's interests, passions, and values? Then we look at our community and what does our community have, and what's important in our community, and who is important for this person to meet. If we're going to build a social and professional network for this person, really, who needs to be in it? And then again, I talked about the individual's neighbors and neighborhood. We had a young woman who couldn't walk out her front door because she had never been taught to. She had been picked up by a yellow van and taken to school and brought home and walked inside. And anytime she went out, it was with her mother. And they usually just got in the car and drove. And, so she didn't know a single one of her neighbors. They didn't know her. I don't think they knew she existed. So we started walking her dog in the neighborhood. And started, eventually started waving at some of the people that we saw routinely, and then started, saying hi to them. And then pretty soon we started asking, what's your name? And they were like, what's your dog's name? Dogs are a great kind of connector. And pretty soon she met her entire neighborhood. We had her shop at the local corner store. We had her start going to church with one of her neighbors. So she met more of her neighbors. She knows the people at the dollar store. We now refer to her as kind of the mayor of the mission. She walks out of her house, she waves like the Queen of England up and down the street. She's got friends, and it's just really kind of wonderful. And it does take her about 40 minutes to get to the BART station these days, because she's got to stop and say hi to like most everyone. But it's really just heartwarming to see. Again, we're using community sites. We don't create special programs at Worklink. We use community sites and public resources because we want people to be able to do this without us. So if we create a program and we create a special gardening site, or we create something, they can only do it when we're available and when it's open. So what we like to do is to create things or to utilize things that are available to the general public. So we look at stores and restaurants, we look at park and rec, we look at religious and service organizations. In San Francisco, we have nonprofits galore. I mean, I swear to God, we probably have a squirrel rescue service. There's just a million things for environmental causes, community service, social justice, art, education, music, whatever you like to do, there's probably a nonprofit connected with it. And then, of course, traveling and safety, that transportation, let's get lost element is so key. We try to, again, building community and social capital, and doing it in creative ways. There was a young woman in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, who when we were working with them, and I was like, you need to connect her with something that's important to her. And they were trying and trying and trying. And they said, well, what's important to you? And she said, I don't know. And they said, well, do you want to go to the SPCA? And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. Do you want to go to the food bank? I don't want to do that. And so they couldn't find anything. And they finally, I said, well, throw it back at her. What's important to her and what's unique about her? And so they asked her, and she said, well, I guess I like the color purple. And she did. She dressed from head to toe in purple all the time, and everything she owned was purple. And they said, well, how can you give back to the community with the color purple? And she said, I don't know, maybe I can have a purple sale and I can sell things that are purple and I can give the money to the women's shelter. And they were like, oh my God, that is a beautiful idea. So they created a purple sale and set her up in the Walgreens parking lot once a month. And during the month, she creates purple stuff and bakes purple cupcakes, or she, knits scarves. She's a knitter, so they help her to buy purple yarn, and she knits purple scarves or mittens or baby booties, or she finds purple things, and she has a purple sale. And she got herself into the newspaper of the Rhinelander newspaper on the front page, her giving her money to the women's shelter. And she's now known around town as the Purple Lady. And the really wonderful thing is one day when she was at Walmart doing her purple sale, another woman dressed completely in purple came out of Walmart and kind of laughed and said, I'm a purple lady too, you know, and so they became fast friends, and the other woman said, can I help you? So now the two of them are in charge of the purple sale, and the program provider just kind of backed out, and so the two of them now run the purple sale, and it's hers. It's her way to really give back to the community, and it really did build social capital, and now everyone in Rhinelander knows who she is. So lots of different ways to do that, and really helping, you know, what ways can you help in your community? This also is a resource. I just put this in here so that you can find it, and it's a great resource. It's a little old, but I think it's really nice, and it talks about, you know, building friendships and connecting people with disabilities to the world around them, and it's just a really nice resource. So take a look at that, and I gave you the link. Again, I'd be remiss if we didn't say, you know, the name of our organization is Worklink. So a big piece of what we're dealing with and what we're looking at is employability and helping people to really build the skills and professional connections they need to work in the world. So it's about, for us, it's probably 70% of what we do with people is around volunteering, or, you know, the learning, or internships. So it's about discovery, it's about exploration, it's about building employability, but it's also about giving back. And it's a way of really changing the perceptions of our community as well. And that people with disabilities are not just, you know, helped, the ones who are being helped, or take is what we hear. They're giving back, and they're participating in the community in really valuable ways. So that's what we like to do, is to get people out and to really help them to show the world that they have a lot of skills, and that they can be valued members. We also treat it like a job. It's not considered just a kind of an activity. So when people are volunteering, we have them sign in and sign out so that they learn how to that work is different, and that, you know, that they clock in and clock out, and it teaches kind of that time management skill. We also work on, you know, kind of getting the task done. You know, we got to get the job done, and teaching that sense of responsibility and reporting to a supervisor and teamwork. All of those things are just critical to job success. So those are things that we're really focusing on. In fact, 85% of employers surveyed said soft skills, not technical skills, are a critical factor in job success. So that's what we work on. We're working on, you know, how to use a wheelbarrow, but in addition to that, we're also working on, you know, manners. You know, I'm a helper, that self-worth that comes, that dignity that comes from being you know, helping with something, being productive. Also the responsibility, you know, they rely on me. They expect I'm coming to help. I got to be there on time. We work on professionalism, that inside voice, good hygiene, and kind of knocking and saying, are you busy, before barging into an office. Also taking initiative. I'm done, what's next? We got a lot of people who, when they're finished, will stop and wait for someone to tell them what to do next, because they've learned over time that that's what you're supposed to do. So we teach them to go to their supervisor and say, what's next? I'm done. And also kind of getting the job done and having pride in doing a job well. Another thing that we do is work on, you know, leadership skills and decision making. A lot of people that we work with have been overhelped, is what we like to call it, and they never learn to kind of make decisions on their own. You ask them something, or you ask them, you know, is this right or wrong, and they'll look to their parent, or they'll look to the instructor, they'll look to their teacher to tell them the answer. So we work on, this is a young man who had a lot of trouble making decisions and working quickly. And one of the things that we decided was we put him in front of a big, huge box of carrots, and his job was, is it a good carrot or a bad carrot? And he had to make like 1,000 decisions in an hour. And it was a great way to really train him to trust himself and to trust his judgment. The other thing that we do is we assign a team leader to organize the day's projects and assignments so that they learn to listen to someone else and not just the community instructor. We also, involve the site administrator too, so the volunteer coordinator from the site, we expect them to act like the boss. So the team leader will report out what and assign jobs to the group, and then the team leader will also help report out to the supervisor what the group accomplished for the day. And the last section I wanted to talk about was, our goal is really about self-sufficiency. So we want to encourage the idea of independence. We want people to be able to be out in the world and on their own successfully. But this, again, is not a dump and run. We don't just put people out there and say, oh, you're here, there you go, you're at the library, go ahead. And what we do is really work with them on being independent in these sites and supporting them so that we don't burn out our community partners. Really kind of looking at, teaching people to reach out and hang out is another big thing. Many people don't know how to call their friends on their cell phone, or they don't have the numbers. So we make sure that everybody has all their friends' numbers on their cell phone. And if someone is late for one of the meeting their group, it's not the community instructor that calls them. One of their friends calls them and says, hey, where are you? You're late, so that they get used to calling each other and using their cell phones for that purpose. We also teach a date night and consensus, and there's some relationship counseling in there as well. We teach them how to throw dinner parties and potlucks at their house. We have them, teach them. You can see in the bottom photograph, that's where we were teaching them how to buy beer and garlic fries at the Giants game for a night game, and teaching them how to find their seat and what's expected, at the Giants game. And we have a lot of people now who go by themselves. So numerous people go to the games independently at this point, or with friends. We also have SF Hike, which is an urban hiking group. They go out to various parks. San Francisco has many, many beautiful areas to hike in. So they walk across the Golden Gate Bridge, or they go to Land's End, or they go into Golden Gate Park. And it's led by a peer, and he decides where people are gonna meet, and he runs it. And it's usually one Saturday every month. And that's something that they do independently. So our goal is to really foster this idea of, we can do this, together with my friends, or I can do this by myself, and to really kind of attend those community events and show them that this is possible. Again, we were trying to build social self-sufficiency and that self-advocacy that goes along with it. So, putting them in control of things and putting them in the driver's seat. And we are kind of taking that riding shotgun position. So we give them control and responsibility whenever possible. And then we use peer mentors or peer leaders to really show them, you can do this, and you don't need a staff person with you when people are ready and confident. And I talked about those other things. So building in choice and self-determination is always critical. So as people build confidence and skills, we fade our supports. So this is Jennifer, and she's an office assistant at Prologis, and she's been there about well, it's more like 15 years now. But over time, as her responsibilities grew, her work hours increased, and you know, she started 15 hours a week. She's now working 28. Her non-work, her community services have also decreased. So she started getting 17 hours a week, and we were working on how to wash your hair, how to cook, how to do all sorts of things. She doesn't need that anymore. So now she's only getting about 8 hours of service, non-work related services, so community services. And she's learning to plan outings with her friends. She's learning how to throw a Super Bowl party. She's moved into her own apartment. So we did work with her on a few things around budgeting and cooking, and then date night. That's Bill. That's her boyfriend, and we work with them on planning date night. So how do we know when it's time to kind of fade out? It's when we start seeing 4s and 5s, and then we start saying, you know, it's time. They don't really need us anymore. They're doing really, really well across the board. It's time that we kind of create that sense of independence. So we start doing things that, again, during non-work, our non-program day hours, so weekends, nights, evenings, and with their friends, and fading their community instructor. So our community instructor starts to hide, and we start to kind of, you know, show them that they can do this independently. So we actively fade our services and kind of, you know, teach them to initiate and organize those social events with their friends. And again, Let's Get Lost is a kind of a final piece. So if we've got someone who's travel trained, we put them in Let's Get Lost, and we take them out and get them lost and teach them what to do, you know, how to again find assistance, and how to call home or Worklink. And then, as I said, transition to more normalized time. So evenings, weekends, and non-program hours. We also look at worst case scenario and coming up with ways to kind of, you know, make sure that we mitigate that risk. So we look at, you know, just everything from minor issues to major disasters, and how are we going to deal with them. These are, you know, we have people who have, you know, obviously everyone has an emergency card in their wallet that has our number on it, and also kind of any significant medical issue that is important to know. We also have, you know, kind of a rescue plan. We cross-train our managers and administrative staff and our job coaches to help our community instructors if they have a group of people, and someone becomes sick or lost or whatever. We have to send out, you know, reinforcements. So we send out the whole team. So we practice that. We also do annual safety trainings, and our Consumer Advisory Council, the peer-led advisory council, does the safety, the fire and active shooter and earthquake drills, and it's peer-led, and it's amazing. People really do learn a lot from each other. We also, these are smart souls, and these are something that we obviously don't use all the time, and in fact we use them very rarely. But we had a young man who was, they're made for people with Alzheimer's, and they have GPS in them. And we had a young man who would run away from people, and he was nonverbal, and his family was very, very uncomfortable with him being out in the community. So we talked with them, and we said, you know, what would you think if we put these smart souls, you know, and again, this is an infringement on his independence and stuff. So we don't use these with everyone, but in this instance, it was something that, you know, if this young man did manage to escape and get away from us, we wanted to be able to find him very, very quickly. So we started using these with him, and it really did give us all peace of mind. And over time, he stopped running, and he's now, we don't use them anymore, and he doesn't wear them. But they were a good little, you know, kind of way to make sure that we were mitigating that risk of him escaping from us and being lost in the world. So again, and then you know, this was all well and good. And then the coronavirus came along and taught us some more lessons. it taught us, again, that services must be nimble and responsive and tailored to everybody's needs. So we sat down and we said, what does your family need? And we were doing runs to the food bank. We were, helping people find toilet paper. We were doing whatever we needed to do, and helping people to go grocery shopping. We had to get really creative, obviously, because our funding source was, not really set up to fund stuff like that. And we realized right out of the gate that technology was going to be the key to this. And over time, it became even more apparent that things weren't going away and that this was going to be the way we did business. So we begged, borrowed, and stole. We put up, a wish list on social media, and we managed to get everybody set up with a computer, an iPad, and helped people to learn. And a Zoom buddy in situations where needed, so that they could get on and see their friends and participate in various classes and activities. Again, collaborating and engaging. If we had not had those close relationships with families, this would have been so much more difficult. But when this all happened, we just immediately, the whole team started reaching out to everyone and we did an assessment. What are people's needs, and what does the family need? How can we help? And it really, the things came back all over the map. What would be helpful, but we were able to really kind of put that in place and do it. And then, do what's right by any means necessary was kind of our mantra. So we started having Zoom classes. We have what we call cafe quarantine, and we have exercise classes. We have current events, money matters. We've been taking people on virtual tours of different countries. We have a few people who came to the United States from Guatemala or Hong Kong, and so they've taken their friends to Hong Kong and shown them. They're teaching them Cantonese. They're teaching them Spanish. We also help them to get together with their friends and do a dinner party or a movie night or a dance party. Also, we have a birthday club now where they plan a birthday celebration. And we also have one-on-one lessons. So we have music lessons, guitar lessons, piano lessons, language classes. We're teaching Spanish, and also kind of job support for people who lost their job. We also have some people virtually volunteering. There was a young woman who was reading stories at the family house, and she could no longer go there because obviously they weren't letting anyone, no volunteers, because all of the children there have suppressed immune systems. So she started recording her stories and we would record them, and she would dress up in costumes and she'd read these stories and use funny voices, and we'd record them, and then we'd send them to Terrence, the volunteer coordinator, and he puts them on all of the machines, all of the computers on all the different floors, and so now the children can pick a story, and so he's really excited because now it gives the kids at the family house something to do. So she does the 2 stories a week, and she's virtually volunteering. So again, the other thing that we found is that, this is a time to really reimagine and reconfigure our services. So we are actually looking at how can we make our services more tailored. And one of the things that we're creating is a new service called Tailored Day. And we're looking at, how can we really, customize our services even more and utilize what we've learned from COVID. So utilizing virtual methods to really support people because it's really effective. And then of course, kind of, rolling up slowly and reopening our community side and our community supports and our employment services as things get better. And I just like to leave people with this. Some people are very reticent and very scared about being in the world, or having their loved one in the world. And I think one of the things that we need to really understand is the beauty that is out there, and that we need to really support people to learn to be out there and to do it in an effective way, and not keep them in special programs or in special places, but help them to be included in our world. So this is my contact information if anybody has any other questions. And so, yeah, so I'm going to stop here and give Casey a chance to talk, and we can answer questions at the end.
Should I go right into it? Okay, let me share my screen. All right, while I'm sharing my screen, I just want to take a moment and kind of reflect on something Sara was talking about, which is having meaningful things being meaningful to you. What does meaningful mean? And I am the employment success manager at Pride Industries. And what we do is provide temp to hire employment through other companies. I will tell you myself, I am a person that has a disability. I've had epilepsy since I was 14 years old. I personally know the struggle of having a barrier when entering the workforce. I've experienced discrimination because of my disability. And because of that, I'm super passionate about being able to support other people find work. I think it's important to find what you do meaningful. And I think it's vital that you have dignity in everything that you do. Regardless of what the job is, I think that you should have dignity in go home and be proud of the work that you put in and be proud of that paycheck that you're receiving at the end of the week. So Pride Industries, we are one of the premier employers of people with disabilities. In California, we are the largest vendor for people with disabilities trying to find employment. And what we do is try and meet those barriers and overcome them. Barriers can include really a whole variety of things. It could mean that there's a different ability there. You might get overwhelmed with, high pace. You might have different triggers that you want to be conscious of so that I can provide some accommodations if needed. Barriers can also include housing. It can include childcare, transportation. So any way we can help bridge that. We know that a barrier isn't just one thing. It's a catch-all for a whole lot of things that go into it. I know a lot of people that are in transitional programs after school, and that we have some amazing workers that have been doing those services that really try and work their best to make sure that we're serving the whole person, right? It's a holistic view. We want to make sure you're able to get there and confident in the work that you do. We really value positive and passionate people. We really care about your safety, so we take a whole lot of extra measures to protect that. Reliable and responsive. I'm on site 4 days a week to be able to help. Trust and respect and innovation. So Pride Industries was created in California in the basement of a church from our founder, Michael Ziegler. His son had a disability and he knew that his son had every capability possible to go to work. He wanted to make an impact. He wanted to make a difference. So he started with this vision to create jobs for people with disabilities. It's about developing new positions for the individual, super just based on what your unique profile is like. So like Sara was mentioning, it's not only that you have a certain different ability, it's the whole person. Do you like sports? Do you like fitness? So let's see what we can do to try and find something that you feel proud of. We started 50 years ago, and at the time we had 56 employees. Now we have over 5,600 people, and over half of them have a disability. We are in over 15 states and DC. We are very conscious about being socially responsible, environmentally friendly, and innovative. We've been a recipient of industry standard awards. So we have pretty good track record within the country of trying to find employment. Our team is really highly accomplished from the top down. Everyone there really, really cares about the people that we serve, the people that we employ. Everyone is treated the same as far as for their capabilities. We want to make sure that everyone is supported in the same way. So our headquarters are in California, but we provide several different services throughout the country. So that could be facilities management. So custodial teams, training on using chemicals, training on using the mop, taking garbage out, making sure that you're, confident in what you're doing. Manufacturing and logistics. So logistics, where I'm at right now, I'll talk a little bit more, but that's box assembly, it's tear down, it's labeling things, helping fill that supply chain management. And then we work with sourcing and recruiting. So I have a really great team that I work with that will help guide you through that onboarding process, all of the things that are needed to get certified in anything, or find accommodations as needed. We do work with local rehab services, so local doors and other employment workshops, other employment programs like Great Graham. And we also work with job coaches. So job coaches are always welcome on site to be able to provide that additional supported employment. So people with disabilities, we know that that can be genetic or acquired later in life. Myself, I acquired my disability later in life. And I realized at a young age that things could be very hard for me. Things could be harder for me than others. But we are the largest growing minority population in the United States, and it's a very underused population in the workforce. So over 70% unemployment for people with disabilities. Now, we know COVID took a big turn in a lot of things, but this is the best time for people with disabilities to be finding employment. This is a chance, because of the labor shortage right now, this is a chance to get in the door and really make an impact and start your career. We want to be aware of words, attitudes, and behaviors, not prejudging someone based on their looks or the way they speak, or maybe the way that they communicate with you. We want to make sure everyone's treated the same. We see the ability and not the disability, and we like to challenge inappropriate comments and behaviors. So myself, I work with managers and directors and coordinators for the actual employer that we work with to make sure that they know they're competent and they need any kind of learning and research tools. We want to make sure that they are providing adequate care for you in the workplace and make sure that you feel like you are valued. You are a valued employee there. So as I said, we treat everyone with respect, courtesy, and dignity. We are professional, ethical, and safe in your work. So with Pride, our goal is to find employment for people with disabilities, but not every person on our team has a disability. But what I say to my team, everyone on my team, is I have a higher expectation of you having respect for people of all abilities in this building, not just those on our team. Everyone in this building, I have a higher expectation of you to have respect for others. So we make sure to comply with all those policies and report any violations on behalf of the company if we see anything. We want to be leaders, and we want you to be a leader by example if you choose to come and work with us, and we can support that. We want to make sure that we're working with managers and a positive manager and communicating with HR. So I work with HR, and if you're not familiar with HR, it means human resources. And those are the people you can turn to if you have questions or you feel like there might be a disagreement you have with the work that you're being put through. So I'm there on site to work with HR, to work with managers to make sure that you're doing a good job and you can keep that. So my role as employment success manager is part of an offshoot of Pride Industries. It's called Inclusive Talent Solutions. And our team tries to recruit and place people with barriers to employment in contingent hire. And contingent hire means that you would work with me for 90 days on the job. You would still have a manager within the company, but I would be there with you the first 90 days to help support you, coach you, check in with you daily to see what other needs might be met. I'm texting with one of my hires right now who has been doing just such an awesome job in his role in logistics. He's at our warehouse doing scanning. And if you aren't familiar with the labor shortage and you're not familiar with logistics, if you order, say you lose your cell phone charger, right? You go online and you pay for your cell phone charger, it shows up at your door. There's a lot of steps that go in between ordering that phone and it showing up at your door. And that's where places like Ingram Micro come in. So we are on site to make sure that you're feeling confident in using these scanners and making sure you know what that line, how that line works, how assembly lines work, and how we can try and make sure you're a part of something. And you should have dignity in this because you are making a real impact in trying to get those products out the door so that the rest of the country can move smoothly. At Ingram Micro, this is in Carroll Stream. So this is a little bit of what the warehouse looks like. It's over 100,000 square feet, so it is a huge building, but every day you go there, it gets a little bit smaller. The people there are super friendly. Every day I'm walking through the warehouse, hey, how's it going, Harry? What's going on, Brandon? And everyone just really wants to make sure that it's a good environment. So they ship over 1.5 billion units a day, or a year, excuse me, a year. So there's a lot going on in that building. So you can see there's a forklift driver in that picture. The forklift driver picks the product from the shelves, puts it on a conveyor belt. Someone else puts the package slip inside. Someone else tapes the box over. So everyone is making a difference in the warehouse to make sure things are operating. It's one of the top 10 global shippers. If you have a cell phone that is not an Apple product, chances are it came from an Ingram Micro facility. 1 in 2 cell phones are shipped out from an Ingram Micro facility. I wrote on here that it's peak season, and it's really important to note that peak season, currently holidays and overtime are considered mandatory for people that are full-time associates. You know, they ship a lot of TVs, they ship a lot of computers, they ship a lot of Google products. And, you know, we're around the same time of Thanksgiving and Christmas where people are purchasing items that they expect at their door on Christmas morning. So we work throughout the year. This is only between October and December. So once January hits, people will resume 40-hour work weeks or 20-hour work weeks if they choose to be part-time. Currently, part-time jobs are not available. I am working with the company to make accommodations so that we can open up more part-time jobs. I'd like to make sure that this company is, you know, cognizant of the fact that sometimes if you are on, if you're on Medicaid or if you're receiving Social Security, I never want you to lose your benefits. And we know that there is a certain amount of money that you can make before you lose those benefits. So I'm working with the company to make sure that we can limit that so you feel proud of the work that you do and can still receive your medical care. So that is part of what Ingram Micro does. It's a really fun company. So you can see on the left, this was last week. We had a big party. It was like a field day. We were doing a bunch of games where we were carrying a line on a spoon around the place. We had a pepper eating contest. So they do try and value the employees with whatever we can do. So they have employee assistance programs. You get paid every single week. And day one that you work at Ingram Micro, you will receive medical benefits in your life insurance and 401k. So you would work with me for 90 days, and that first day after that 90 day, that's your first day of employment there, and you're eligible for absolutely everything that they provide all associates. It's also a countrywide company. There have been instances in the past where someone has worked in Carroll Stream and their family was moving to Florida, and they were able to place them in a position in Florida at their same rate or higher. They didn't lose any money. They were still able to transfer over there and do the same job. 81% of the building is vaccinated, fully vaccinated. There's been several COVID vaccination clinics that have come through, and there will be more clinics coming through for boosters. So that is something that we're really proud of, to have a high vaccination rate. It is not required. If you do not feel comfortable releasing your vaccination status, it's completely voluntary. But this is just something that we know that if you do get sick, it makes a difference if you have the vaccine. So how we can quarantine and how long we need to make accommodations for. So just 81%, and I believe that is growing on a regular basis. So there are a couple different job opportunities. On the left, these are two of my favorites. I know I shouldn't play favorites, but love these guys. So they're part of our custodial team. The gentleman on the left was a Pride employee, and then he, after 90 days, he converted to a Ingram Micro associate, and now he's training Brandon over here. So it's really nice to see that he got so confident in his work that we really understand that he could be a leader in this. So he moved forward to be able to coach Brandon on, making sure the bags are inserted properly, making sure you're using the correct kind of chemicals, how to open up and how to lock down. trying to put as much trust in them as possible to make sure that they're able to, communicate with others and feel good in their work. The other positions, logistics 1, is that basic box assembly and labeling. So really good for someone that likes that repetitive stuff, being able to see the boxes in front of them, label them, tape them shut, and then they're on their way. So once those are done, once the boxes are assembled and labeled, they go on to this little cart here. And then the logistics 2 position will use that RF scanner on the right, that picture on the right, to make sure that those products are going to the right place. So they're shipped in the right box and they're going to the correct person to have that cell phone charger right at the door at the ready. So if you are interested in working with Pride Industries, I'm happy to interview absolutely any person that is referred by Ray Graham. If you are on this call, I will bring you in for an in-person interview next week if you'd like to. I'd like to work with people to make sure that they're appropriate for the job, meeting the essential functions. And if not, then we can find accommodations, make sure that it's an appropriate place for you. You can apply through the job links. It is a 7-year background check and a drug test is required. For people that drive forklifts, if you know anyone that's experienced with forklift driving, we do a 3-year motor vehicle report. So onboarding's on site and I'm there 4 days a week, like I said. If you have a job coach through Doors, or if you have a job coach from a different kind of company or organization, we encourage you to bring your job coach on site. So if you can see in this picture, Cassidy on the right is Christian's job coach from Parents Alliance, and she came maybe once a week once he was comfortable. She was there every day until he got the hang of it, and then we felt like he was able to perform by himself, and now he's training others. So it's really nice to be able to have that added support on site. So if you'd like to have your job coach, they're very encouraged to be there. We feel like they're part of our family too, so we have regular communication with job coaches, or anyone that's in employment or vocational support. We're there to communicate with them. We're excited. In 2022, we're going to be having an apprenticeship program. So I know that it can be difficult if you're transitioning out of school to immediately go into a full-time job. That can be pretty overwhelming. And it could be overwhelming if you've never worked before to be entering a workforce that's really, really busy. So my goal is to make sure that we're going to have a program designed for maybe 10 students or 10 people to learn how to do these products. It will be paid and it will be on site, and we'll have a job coach training on custodial, box assembly, shipping, labeling, detrashing, loading line, using conveyor belts, using that RF scanner, and more. So we just want to make sure that in the spring, we're able to have really nice opportunity for you to be participating in what a warehouse looks like to work at, and being able to do those jobs so that we can help support and get you a weekly paycheck. Okay, so here's my contact information. I'll also put my contact information in the chat box. I know I didn't take a whole lot of time. I want to make sure that there's room for Q&A later. But I really do encourage you, reach out. Let's see if you are appropriate for the position. And if not, we find different avenues to make sure that you're supported. And I think I put on here the actual pay. So custodial is $15.50 per AM and $16 per PM and so on. If you do have driving experience, or if you are a certified forklift driver, that is a lot higher pay. It's $21 for the morning and $21.50 per PM. So this is, not fully supported employment, because you do have that independence to be working, on your own items. We provide checklists and we provide detailed training for every person that walks through that door. So that is Pride Industries. And I really appreciate everyone at Ray Graham for having me on the line here, and Sarah for talking about what meaningful means. There we go.
Thank you both very, very much. There are some questions in the Q&A as well as the chat, of which, Sarah, thank you. You've been taking some time to respond to some of those. And we'll, after we do the next portion with Bob and with John and a short video that we have, we can all circle back to those questions, but feel free to invite the audience to look at those questions and answers as well. So Bob and John, if you'd like to unmute, Bob is going to do, I believe first, we're going to do a brief introduction to Jose, and then I will share a video that he's put together for us. And then John will wrap up and encourage everybody to imagine the possibilities. And then we will certainly move into questions and answers before we end for the evening. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, so the next young gentleman that you're going to meet, which is on the video, his name is Jose Garcia, and he is currently working at Partstown in Addison. Jose had been with us once before. He had gotten a job at Eaglewood as a dishwasher, but unfortunately with COVID, because all the banquet halls had closed down, he lost his job. So he came back to us and he got a job at Partstown with the assistance of our job developer, Josephine. And now he's being coached by Kate. So without further ado, Sharon, if you want to play the video.
Okay, my name is Jose. I work at Partstown. I worked there for 4 months. I have a job last year at the Eaglewood Resort Spa, and then I lost and they let everybody go. Then when I found out about this job, my friend told me about this job, so that's why I got hired. And then that I told Kate I got another job with him. I told my lady friend was helping me about this job.
Mm-hmm. And how did you lose? Why did you lose the other job?
The COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
I work at Partstown in Addison, Illinois. Now,
And what do you do there?
packing. I'm getting responsible and then I'm getting paid. I love my job, what I'm doing. I have transportation, how I get to work. My brother drives and I can take the pace bus.
Say, how did you learn to take the pace bus?
Well, I look on the schedule. I can call RTA and then I can call Pace Bus and let them know what time, when it's the first time the bus arrives. And then they told me that look on the schedule, and then I look on the schedule. That's how I find out. My friend told me about the job at the Partstown. I called DRS, and then I went to Ray Grammar where Josephine and Kate helped me.
Okay, and how does Josephine and Kate help you? What are some of the things that they helped you do?
Help me out with the application, then Kate helped me with the interview. My co-workers, they helped me how to do the job right and everything to learn more. Contact DRS, don't give up and keep trying.
Although I don't think Jose is with us this evening, please extend our thanks, Bob, team. Wonderful video, very encouraging.
Yeah. So now we're going to hear from John, and I'm going to let John do mostly all the talking because you don't want to hear from me. You want to hear from John and his success. So This is John.
Hi, my name is John Jewell. I am with Ray Graham. I am in a group home with Ray Graham, the circle. So yes, I have had a job with Ray Graham before. I worked at Myers, but I lost my job because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So then when we could finally come back to Main Street, I talked to Bob, and him and Mary, who's another job employment specialist. Mary took over for Bob when I needed another job. She went to the Gary company, and she thought it'd be a good job for me. So we did the application online, and I got a interview over Zoom because I could not go in because of the pandemic. So I had an interview with Barita, who is a manager over there. She was in, we did it over Zoom. So that was a good thing. And then a couple days later, she called me back and she said, I got the job. I was very happy. And then Bob took over for Mary after I got the job, and he's been coming in and seeing how we're doing on the job. And I like the job better than my other job that I got let go from. So yeah, it was a hard thing going through the COVID-19 pandemic, but I got through it. So and now I'm working again, so that's a good thing. So what else? What else?
Well, tell them what you do.
Well, right now I'm working at the carry company. It's a warehouse, kind of like a warehouse, job. I do bells. I do paint can bells. I put those 34 to a pack. Been doing cans. I've been putting cans in boxes. Paint cans, little ones, big ones. Been doing putting liners in spice bottle lids. I did that today. And that's what I'm doing right. That's what we're doing right now. And it's good work. I mean, it's I'm getting paid to do it, so it's working, so it's good. Now the why the job's important to me is because I like meeting other people. Everybody at the care company is very, very nice. Nobody is nasty, nobody is mean. Everybody says hello, everybody's polite. And everybody gets along with each other. Nobody's mean, nobody's, sometimes, they joke around, but that's what sometimes they do that. The challenge of my job was when I had to do the Zoom call over to get to talk to the employee, talk to Barita who interviewed me. It was kind of hard because I never done a Zoom interview before. That was my first time doing a Zoom interview, but I had to do it because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I overcame it because I got the job, so I was very happy that I overcame that. It was very, very. I was very, very happy that I got the job, and it was good. What I like most about my job is that I do work with another coworker. Her name is Kathleen. She works with me on Mondays and Thursdays. I'm by myself on Wednesdays, and then she's by herself on Fridays. But I like working with her because she's very, very helpful. I like having help, but sometimes, she could be, she gets sick one day and I got to work by myself. So I got to learn how to work by myself, but I like having help. But yeah, she's very, very helpful, and I like working with her. I like working with other people that are there. Louis is one of my other, Louis G. He helps us with all he puts like together all the projects with him and my boss Danny. They they put the projects together, and then he shows us one time how to do it, and then we take over. Then the encouragement, what I got with the encouragement and advice I gotta say is just, you know what, don't give up. I know it's hard, but I before I came to Raygram, I was I needed I had no support. I was doing interviews. I mean, I was doing in applications online, and nothing was coming through. And then once when I got to Ray Graham, I had the support of Bob and Mary and Kate also. I had the support of them. So, if you can get support, I mean, Ray Graham's a great place to come to because they can give you the support that you need to get a job. But yeah, don't give up. Like Jose said, don't give up. Just keep trying to get the jobs and stuff because I know it's hard to do it by yourself, but just try your hardest and hopefully you can get a job.
Thank you so much, John and Bob. John, I don't know if you have the chat open, but it's been very active, and there are many, many congratulations to you, comments that it looks like you enjoy what you do, keep up the good work, more congratulations, super proud of you, great job, congrats. So just wanted you to know that your words were very inspiring and got lots of feedback. So congrats, and thank you so much for sharing that. There was one question, you might have answered it, John, but there was one question that asked, what do you like better about your job now than your previous job that you had?
Well, my previous job was I was a greeter at Myers, and I was just standing there at the doors saying hi and bye to people. This is more active. It's more walking around and a more hands-on job. The other job was just standing there, doing for standing there for like 4 hours, maybe 5 hours a day, just standing there saying hi and bye to people. It was just kind of a boring, just staying there, and stuff like that. This is more on hands because it's a warehouse, so it's more on hands and more active than my recent job.
Wonderful. It fits in with what I think Sara started with. It's more meaningful, perhaps. Great. Well, thank you very much. Karen, I'll turn it over to you. It looks like we obviously have some time for some question and answers. If something didn't get answered along the way, we may want to go back. And Casey did message me that she was having a little trouble with her connection. So she unfortunately dropped off, but if you did not get a chance to get her email or contact information, we can certainly share that with you if you'd like to contact her. So Karen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I just want to take the opportunity to really thank our fantastic speakers this evening, Sara and Casey and Bob and John. I really hope all the attendees, you're able to walk away with something new or a different approach. And I don't think I can say it better than John just did, is just don't give up. Don't give up. There is always an opportunity. And I think John's story is so inspiring, and Sara shared some really fantastic information. Casey is willing to work with families and things like that, so we can tell exactly in what situation you are in, what you are looking for. But if there's anything that you need from this presentation, we want to make sure we are available. And if you reach out to Raygram Association, we'll be able to connect you to the right person. So again, thank you so much, Sara, Casey, John, and Bob. And now we'll get the opportunity to do the answer question and answers. The only last thing I want to remind people is our next speaker series is on November 18th. And we'll be talking about navigating the service system, which is also a huge challenge to families, to self-advocates. So if you are sitting there going, where do I start? I don't even know where to start. We have like very great people also lined up. We have an ISC, we have a law firm, and we also have DRS. So we are hoping you can join us for that session. If you signed up for CEUs, Sharon put in information, make sure you contact her. And we are hoping you'll get your information within 7 to 14 business days. So if you call us tomorrow, we may not be ready, but we'll be able to get you the information. So I'll turn this on back to Sharon and Sarah, so we can be able to answer questions on the chat.
All right. Sorry, I had to look up to see what's still open. And John, there's another, or Bob and Jose, another great video comment. Sarah, there's a question submitted recently. It asks if the pandemic labor shortage impacted your ability to staff your program.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's been really, really difficult, and I think it's across the country, and I think a lot of the problem is the direct service positions need to be paid at a more career level so that people can afford to stay in those jobs, because it's the most important job in our organization, and it's really, really hard for people in San Francisco to even afford to rent an apartment here. So we've had a lot of trouble, and the pandemic has made that even exponential. A lot of people left the Bay Area, so we are really struggling. And a lot of the people that left were people who couldn't afford to live here already. So, you know, it's been really rough. We're down to 50% of our staff, which means I'm out in the field again, which I actually love. It's probably the best part of my day, is to get to go job coach people at their jobs and to spend some time in the trenches.
Excellent. And you did answer them online, but in case people didn't have a chance to read through your answers, there were a couple of questions about how services are funded. Would you be able to take a minute to gloss over your answers?
The community side, our services are braided together, so but they're very, very separate, and we have to be very accountable. So we have services and service plans written for both our community support goals and then also our employment support goals. Our employment services start with the DRS services, so they're supported employment services. We are also using our community day support services to do discovery. So those are funded by our DDD state agency. Someone had asked if we do any private pay, and at this point we don't. Our goal was to really serve everyone and to provide services, you know, to everyone that needed them. So we knew that we had to support people through the state agencies, because those were the people that funded the majority of services. So our services are also what we've also done is the community support program. We've gotten approval from our DDD agency to run a project search program, and they counted as a community training program is what they call it, and it's more of an employment training program, but you know, they were very, very nice in kind of letting us use you know, jigger the definition a little bit so that we could use those dollars to provide a group internship situation for work-based learning. It's also a hybrid program, so we're partnering with the San Francisco Unified School District to also provide. They provide interns, and then what we do is backfill any spaces with adult interns. So people who have limited job experience or people who really want a professional job. So we, and they've only had, maybe they were bagging at Safeway or something like that, and they want something that's going to really, be a game changer for them, is what we call it. So, and we refer to it kind of as a professional boot camp. By the time people kind of graduate from, it's hosted by Kaiser Permanente. So when people graduate from that, they have these letters of recommendation. They have, it's a very professional environment. So we are able to kind of walk them into places like law offices or financial offices or other kinds of professional biotech companies, or Kaiser has actually hired about 6 of our interns. So, and those positions pay really well. I mean, they're making $28, $30 an hour. So really nice paying career oriented positions. So that's been a real game changer for us. And we also use customized employment methods to place people. So that positive personal profile and that discovery process is key. Someone also asked about, their daughter in a school, and we really encourage families to take that positive personal profile into the planning meeting and say, this is who my son or daughter is, and this is what we need to connect them to, and get it written into their son or daughter's ITP plan, so that the school is accountable for whatever goes in that plan. So we really fight to get that wording in there, and to really focus on employability and internships and work-based experiences.
Fantastic. Thank you. And there was another question that asked any particular age that people typically start receiving services from you.
Well, our program started as kind of a seamless transition project. So we were taking people who were graduating from school, and we had a teacher who worked in our organization. And what our goal was is to really make our services, look like that people would graduate with a job, and that they would be in the community, and that they would be comfortable and confident and independent, or gaining independence. So it was a great project, and it really did help to ease people into kind of adult life. So we work with anyone. And again, what's meaningful for people is also based on kind of their station in life. Obviously with older individuals, they're thinking about retiring, they're thinking about, doing things that they enjoy. The younger people, we really are focused on employability and getting a job, and then also, that kind of non-work side of life that makes life so enjoyable. Any specific areas or work with individuals across the, again, it's based, we don't have a specific area that we focus on, because we take our lead from the individual who comes in. So it's based on, what people's strengths are and what really motivates them. So we find ourselves in really odd places. Because people come in, and we've worked in a mortuary, we've worked for the coroner. Those were some really gross jobs. In pathology, we had some people who were real. That was when CSI was really a big thing on HBO. We have people who work in restaurants. We have people who work in who are gearheads, who want to work with cars. So we have a few people that work in automotive situations. We have people who work in law offices. We have people who work for nonprofits. We have people who are creative and artistic, and we've placed a few of them in, one individual is working in an industrial design company, and that's really quite fun. So we try to really match people's passions and their interests, and try to place them in a place where they're going to really fit in. So we had one story we like to tell us about the young man who we were just pestering him to change the way he looked. He was kind of sloppy, kind of smelled bad. He swore like a sailor, and we were like, you're making it really hard. And he was like, this is who I am. This is who I am. We were finally like, okay, this is who he is. Where else do people swear like sailors and smell bad? So he's now working for the water treatment department, and nobody can smell him, and he can swear to his heart's content, and everybody else there does, and he fits right in, and he doesn't have to put a mask on, and he doesn't have to change who he is, and it's who he is. So we try to just kind of go with what people bring us, and and it's great fun. So we don't focus on just one particular industry or one particular job. We're really trying to get out there and work with all employers.
Thank you. I know we're slightly past time, and we probably didn't get to all the questions. Somebody did ask if there's other agencies throughout the country adopting your methods. I know you've spoken to us many
Ray
times.
Graham, one.
Yeah, we and several other agencies attended
Yeah.
how many part webinar series on building
There's a
meaningful
lot.
lives? Yeah, very, very valuable. And as we begin to reinvent the way we offer services during the day, we're certainly, going back to those and evaluating how we're going to do it, and really take what Sara has taught us to.
There's some really great programs. There's another one called Starfire in Cincinnati, Ohio, that builds social capital through community organizing. So they help people with disabilities organize an event or something that their community needs, and the stories are just amazing at how these people are impacting their community and developing friendships and that social value that comes with that. So yeah, Starfire is a great one. There's another program in Maine called KFI. That is another one to look at, and they do kind of individualized one-by-one supports and services, and that's really what it's about. It's really about getting away from these big institutional programs and getting down to each person one by one, and what do they need, and what would make their lives more meaningful.
Thank you so much once again. Karen, Kim, any wrap up? Let's see, there are a few other questions, which, feel free to email us if there's something we didn't get to that we haven't been able to answer. We can either tap into Sara or Casey or our, as Bob spoke with the employment services team here at Ray Graham Association. Very happy to connect you with any and all of those people if we didn't get to your questions in the time that we had allotted. Kim, Karen, any wrap up?
No, I just want to say thank you to Sara and to Casey and to Bob and John, and pass along our thanks to Jose. And it was just great to see everyone tonight, and I appreciate the approach, Sara. I am so happy that Illinois has introduced you to all of us here, and we look forward to continued dialogue with you.
All right. With that, we'll wrap up for this evening. If you do need CEUs, please feel free to email me. We do have a list of who's attended, but it would be very nice to make sure that I get them out to everyone appropriately. So feel free to send me an email there. And if I just ask so I catch it, if you put in the subject line, just something like October CEs, and that will flag it for me so I can get it out to you quickly. All right. With that, everyone have a wonderful night. Thank you once again to all our presenters, and hopefully we'll see everybody in November. Take care.